Hi, I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female. My guest is Ms. Tanya A. Walker. She's a lady of transgender experience. She was in the military. Donald Trump, are you listening? Trans and in the military. She is a great activist. She's the co-founder of New York, what is it?
Transgender advocacy group, NITAG.
Yes. And she was recently in the hospital. And we are going to discuss the way that the medical profession, not all the medical profession, but some, treat transgender folk in hospital. My guest, transgender activist, Ms. Tanya A. Walker.
Hi, yes.
Hi.
I had lung cancer for the second time.
Which you probably got in the military.
Yes, I had a right lung resection where they removed part of the top of my lung. This time, the first time they had removed my right middle lobe, and
how long have you had lung cancer?
Since 2013.
So that is 5 years.
5 years.
4
yes.
years.
So I was cancer-free for 3 years, and then all of a sudden a new cancer came back. I don't know the name of it, but it was a new cancer. Came back, and I went to this cancer hospital here in New York City. They specialize in cancer, and I was treated very badly there.
How badly? What did they do?
Well, there was a lot of misgendering, calling me out of my gender.
Did they call you by your boy name?
No, my name and everything's been changed. But they shoved catheters into me, and I was bleeding out, and
From
the urethra.
Right.
And also, I was left in diarrhea for days, and I had to clean it up myself with one arm after
what excuse
surgery.
did they give you for that?
They didn't give me any excuse. They just didn't clean it up. I had to clean it up with one arm.
Well, I'm sure you asked the nurses or someone, excuse me, could you help me here clean it up?
Yes, nobody would help me clean it up. So I did it myself with one arm on my knees.
Why with one arm?
Pulling a pole, because I was attached to
an IV.
I was attached to the IV and that machine, the pump, and I had an oxygen tank, and also I had one of those big plastic urinals I had to drag around.
Right,
those big
and you had to
plastic
clean
ones,
diarrhea.
the old-fashioned ones, and then I had to clean diarrhea, and because right after surgery, they told me that they didn't put a catheter in when I was in my urethra before surgery. So after surgery, they told me, "Oh, you haven't urinated in a while. So guess what? We're gonna if you don't urinate, we're gonna have to put a catheter in." So I said, "Oh God, here we go." And this is the first time this ever happened to me in my entire life. And so the guy sent me to the bathroom. He waited about 10 minutes, and he said, "Up, you can't urinate, and you have to urinate before you leave the recovery room." So his name was, he shoved it in real hard, and
out
I
of
started
malice?
bleeding out. I started bleeding out.
Did he shove it in hard out of malice?
I believe so. And I was bleeding. I was bleeding all over my gown, all over the little underwears that they had on me. And then, before they sent me to the floor, which was 12 north, they ripped out the catheter. They didn't pull it out, they just ripped it out. And they said, "Oh, they're going to give you another one when you get upstairs." So the nurse was upstairs waiting for me when I got upstairs. She had another catheter, and she said, "Have you gone to the bathroom yet? Go in the bathroom." I went to the bathroom, tried to go, after they pulled the last catheter out. I couldn't go. So she said, "Maybe it's your prostate." And they started giving me medication for prostate issues. And I told her I never had prostate issues. I said I take hormones, so they shrink your prostate. And if I thought the prostate medication was because you couldn't hold your urine. And she said, "Oh no, you need to take it." So she started me on prostate medication, and she put the catheter back in, and I bled again. And then it was weird because she kept coming back to checking to see if I was bleeding from the catheter, and over and over again. She kept pulling the covers up and looking to see if I was bleeding, and I felt really, bad, violated about that. So, as time went on, I met this social worker in this cancer hospital, major cancer hospital here in New York City. And she said her name was
which we cannot name.
I can't name her,
and we cannot name the hospital because Tanya has a suit pending.
Yeah, so she told me that I don't look. She told me that I don't look like a woman, and that she does not have to call me by my gender pronouns.
Oh my God!
She said, "I don't know what you look like when you're not here, but to me, you don't look the part. So therefore, I don't have to call you by what you want to be called." I told her I was an activist. I told her that she was breaking the law. I told her everything. She thought she was above the law. And, and the first time I went to this hospital, I was treated well. After the Donald Trump's election, I was treated like garbage. I was, harassed. I mean, she harassed me. She refused to call me by my gender pronouns. And, she was really horrible, and she's she's a social worker, a licensed social worker, and she works at this hospital. So one day, I was in the room, and the nurse comes in, and she says, "Oh," because my oxygen was getting low at night, and they had to keep giving me oxygen. She said, "Oh, we think that you're bleeding in your lung, so therefore, we're going to have you transported down to get an X-ray or a CAT scan, to get a CAT scan." So the patient transport lady came, a young girl, and I got out of bed and I walked towards the chair, pulling the pole and the oxygen tank and that gigantic urinal that was hanging out of me, and I got in the chair. And I think she unhooked me from the pole, and I got in the chair with the oxygen tank, and that big can for
basically
the
they
catheter.
treated you with great disrespect.
Yes.
And deliberately misgendered you, called you sir and Mr. Walker and other crap.
He, him, no female gender pronouns that that I go by, and because I'm trans, gender's in your mind, not in your genitals. And anyway,
but they don't see it that way.
No, they didn't see it that way. So I get in a chair. I'm being wheeled slowly towards the nurses' station. The nurses' station's packed with people. I mean, full of doctors, nurses. There's visitors. It's like they were changing shift.
Right.
And there was nurses.
What happened?
I mean, visitors visiting other cancer patients on that
happened?
floor. Actually, is wheeling me towards the nurses' station, and we get right in front of it. One of the nurses yells out, "Have a good day, sir," like that.
Out of malice.
Yes, and and then I had the patient transport girl stop the chair. I gave her Transgender 101 while I just had surgery, lung cancer surgery, trying to heal, and I'm arguing and fighting with nurses and doctors.
And I know what hospital this was because Tanya told me. And it is absolutely maybe the top cancer hospital on earth.
And yes, and these ladies come from a different culture, like from the West Indies. And they feel they have the God-given right to misgender trans people and myself. Mm-hmm. And they felt like, that they could call me whatever they want, disregarding the laws that have been put in place by New York City for transgender people. So
You should speak to the public advocate about this.
yes, I did speak to the public advocate's office about it. I haven't spoken to the borough president's office about it, but I think I will, because as soon as I started talking about it, everybody was afraid because this hospital is very wealthy, and lawyers are afraid, and they're going to have thousands of lawyers if you try to sue them or whatever. But
I'm amazed that you can't mention the hospital.
Yep.
Because, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But can I mention it?
No.
Okay.
But it's I was treated very badly there. Also, at night I had to lay in diarrhea. They had to give me Pampers, like those Pamper pull-up things, and or Depends, and they would not stop the diarrhea because they kept claiming that they had to keep checking for infection, and so
is that possible though? Is that actually sounds slightly credible that they might need to check that,
But they said, did you have diarrhea before you came to the hospital? I said, no. I started getting diarrhea when I got to this floor. So I don't know what you're giving me. They were as soon as they started giving me medication, the diarrhea started. Mm-hmm. As soon as they gave me medication. And they said, we're only giving you painkillers. I don't know why you have diarrhea. And so they
maybe all the shit you people are giving me is coming out through the other end.
Yeah, so they
should have said that.
Yeah, so they gave me like 2 or 3 days later. 3 days later, I think it was 3 days later, they started giving me Imodium AD.
Whatever
and they gave me one pill to stop diarrhea. The Imodium AD did not work, and I was still having diarrhea. While I was sleeping, everything I drank, it came out.
You must have been very weak since you couldn't hold anything.
Yeah, I couldn't hold anything in. I couldn't eat. There were trays and trays and trays of food sitting on the
excuse me,
sitting on the table on top of each other that they wouldn't even take out the room because I couldn't lift anything because I only had one arm. My right arm
had an IV in it.
I had an IV in it. Plus I had I had surgery right here. I had a big scar going down, and plus I had to go under my rib cage, so it was very painful. I couldn't even roll over in the bed, after surgery. So
basically, you were treated with complete disrespect, like just something they wanted to get rid of fast, and and now your insurance would have been government insurance since you're in the military, right?
Yeah, but I'm a veteran as well, so I go to the VA hospital.
And that is not the hospital that treated Tanya so badly. The VA hospital did not treat Tanya badly.
It was this other hospital. So
the other hospital.
So
yes. The world famous cancer hospital.
So I had I had 2 insurances, Medicaid, Medicare, to help pay for my surgery and stuff like that. So currently I refuse to go back to that hospital because I'm afraid that that they'll harass me. I don't know what those people would do.
What
I'm
are you
afraid
going
of them.
to do?
I'm going to the VA hospital for care right now, and maybe I'll switch to another hospital after that. But right now, I'm just going there for
mind, body,
for
soul. What they do to your mind has a huge impact on your recovery.
Yeah.
If they're negative and they're making you feel uncomfortable, that's not helping your physical recovery.
Yes. I mean, the social worker, she came and sat right next to my bed and harassed me. She was harassing me next to her bed. She harassed me in front of visitors who came to see me. She would not call me by my gender pronouns. And so I'm going through all of this. And, to add insult to injury, they just refused to care for me properly. I told them I'm a veteran. I told them everything I could tell them. Mm-hmm. And I even looked online. I Googled myself. I showed it to them. They totally had disregard for me as a human being and as a person. So they violated my human and civil rights right there in the hospital. like they're above the law, because they know the hospital's wealthy and it has a lot of lawyers. So they didn't feel like they had to treat me right. They said, "Go ahead, try to sue us. We got plenty of money."
Yeah,
You know,
they didn't actually say that,
no,
but
they
was
were
the
acting like that.
implication.
They were emboldened. So, when I got up to the nurse's station after giving the lady Transgender 101 that screamed out, "Have a nice day, sir," she didn't say anything to any of the other patients
No.
that were going past the nurse's station. It was just outright, it was harassment.
Yeah, and
Harassment.
cruelty.
And cruelty, yes. And so, she just totally disregarded me, and I told her what rights she was violating and everything. And then when I got out the hospital, I tried to find a lawyer. Nobody wanted to touch it. When they found out what hospital it was, they're like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
we might not win. They may take our law license if we don't win or something." They were afraid. And most of the places that are legal places that serve transgender people in New York City don't.
They are not equipped to
they're
deal
not-
with cancer.
They're not equipped to deal with a cancer hospital.
No.
They take care of other transgender issues like in employment and stuff like that. But health issues, they're no lawyers. And I've been, and also it's very hard to find culturally sensitive, culturally competent mental health care in New York City for transgender people. I found that most of the culturally competent or culturally sensitive mental health professionals in New York City who are able to treat transgender individuals don't take Medicaid and Medicare. They'll take cash, or they'll take some other insurance that I don't have. So
It's
therefore,
odd that, given the fact that so many trans folk are on Medicaid and Medicare, that they would not take that.
Yeah.
That pretty much negates their trans practice, because most trans people are on some form of Medicaid or something.
yes, because due to blatant discrimination and harassment,
Yes.
and it's hard to get a job, for transgender people. And once they do hire a transgender person, they usually don't keep the job. They usually don't, there's nothing in place to retain that worker once they are hired, in New York City. And, there are transgender people working, but there's not enough. There's not enough. And we need more. We need special scholarships specifically for transgender people. People need to give to organizations that are transgender led, like New York Transgender Advocacy Group, like NITAG. They need to give to NITAG, organizations like that, which are trans led.
Yes.
And I'm the co-founder of it. They need to give more to those organizations, and so that we can do the work for the community. So that we can help to change policies.
Well, they could
that will allow transgender people to
There would be a
work
wonderful
openly
way to solve the
and proudly.
problem if they hired trans people to case manage and other things, other trans people's cases.
Right.
That would pretty much solve the problem.
Right. We need more trans social workers that are transgender, because a person who's not transgender, unless they're in a relationship with a transgender person, may not really understand. You cannot learn everything about a transgender person from a book, or a magazine, or a movie, or whatever. I would say, take a transgender person out to lunch, sit with them, look around, look at how the people are watching them. Don't take a stealth transgender person, a person that you can't tell is transgender. Take someone out that identifies as a woman and they're transgender, and take them out to lunch. Treat them like a human being. Transgender people are deserving of human and civil rights in this society.
And we so seldom get them.
Yes, so at this hospital, they are, I refuse to go until they have cultural and competent sensitivity trainings by transgender women, mainly black transgender women, because these women most of the people who harassed me came from the Caribbean, and they were very, they brought their culture to work with them. I thought when you work for an organization or a company, that you do not work for yourself. Your beliefs and everything are at home. When you're the face of this business or this company, you do not bring your culture to work with you. You do not wear your culture on your shoulders, and disregard rules, regulations, laws, and feel like you're above the law.
And apparently the medical staff at this very famous, world famous, top of the line cancer hospital felt that they were above the law and that they, being with this huge monolithic hospital, could do whatever they wanted. And now I had to go to the emergency room 3 years ago, and I went to where was it? Lenox Hill Hospital, and they were very nice to me, I must say, and they knew I was trans because I told them, and they were very nice to me. As far as it goes, I mean, it was just an emergency room visit. It wasn't like, a long stay, but
Yeah.
they were very, very nice to me.
Well,
So it's not everyone or
but
every
it's-
hospital.
It's also
Some staff members will be nicer, some not.
Yeah, but they were just outright horrible, and the doctor wouldn't give me a home attendant. I only had one arm. I
Now-
needed a home attendant for a couple of weeks.
You can get a home health care. Are you on Medicaid?
I have Medicaid and Medicare. I have to pay for the Medicare. Medicaid.
If nobody pays for the Medicaid.
I have to pay out of my check into it because I work for that Social Security. I get
Right.
SSD, so that's money I paid
What?
into
All
the
right.
system.
Now, what's SSD?
It's Social Security disability.
Okay.
Money I paid into the system. It's not, it's not regular SSI. So
Now, what is SSI?
So I have to pay for SSI is social. I guess it's Social Security. I don't really know the exact acronym.
But anyway,
I don't know if it's insurance.
I have a
Social
friend
Security
who's in a
insurance. I don't know
wheelchair.
what it is.
She's a lesbian. She's in a wheelchair. She has Medicaid and Medicare and all that stuff. She gets SSI, I think,
Yeah.
and she gets a free home health aid.
Yes.
And you should have got one too. They
Yeah.
should have given you one.
Yes. I've had cancer twice, so this is what I have to deal with right now. So now I'm high risk for cancer coming back because I had it the second time.
So you can't really
So I
get
can never
paid
be-
employment.
Yes,
yeah.
I can never be called cancer free again because it came back. Well, the new cancer came back, so I can never be cancer free.
And in the same place, the lung.
It came back in the lung again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And you got it in the military when you were in the military.
Probably. So, so I had a very bad experience. So I'm having problems finding culturally competent, culturally sensitive mental health treatment.
Have you tried Callan Lord?
I've tried. I think I've tried, but they have too many people.
Yeah.
So you can't get in at Callan Lord. It's too many, they have too many people. But I've seen therapists there, and I've seen them for a little while, for my transgender issues.
Right.
But they weren't there.
Have you tried the center, not Carolina Herrera, Christina Herrera?
Yes. Transgender people are harassed on daily.
Yeah.
On a daily basis, hourly basis.
Yep.
As soon as they go outside, you get harassed for living in your truth. You get misgendered. People see you in women's clothes, and all they have to do is Google transgender, and they'll know what we are. We shouldn't have to teach everybody about us.
Let me tell you what happened last week, right here in this studio. There was a woman who was the sister-in-law of one of the producers, and I walked in. She glared at me, and she had a child, and she had the child leave the room, and she glared blue blazes at me. I was told by one of the staff to go complain about her, about this woman who glared at me. I did. When I left complaining to the manager about this lady, I came out and she literally got in my face and laughed in my face. That did it. I went right back into the manager and really complained my head off. And she lied and she said, oh, well, she followed me. Luckily, we not only have surveillance cameras, we have a studio full of people seeing what's happening. She didn't have a leg to stand on, but she had a sense of entitlement that she could make me feel small and like less than a human being because I'm trans. Luckily, Manhattan Neighborhood Network made it clear that we are a progressive station, and we do not allow that. And I hope that woman is watching this show right now so she knows that that was not allowed. You know?
Yes, people should learn to be transgender. People aren't going anywhere, and they've been here since the beginning of time. If you're of childbearing age, you're likely to have a transgender child or an intersex child or a gay child. That's just how the world works. Transgender people, we've been here since the beginning of time.
And we'll be here until the end of time.
And so we're not going anywhere as long as you keep having children. There's no gene that they can find to find out if somebody's trans or LGBT, So
Well, 100 years from now, they'll see a tape of this show and say, they didn't know about the queer gene.
yeah, so it's not, and they do not understand the brain. I think in ancient times they understood the brain more then than they do now.
There's a wonderful book called Queer New York or Gay New York, and it's really good because it says that pre the 1950s, people just accepted gay people. They said, well, whatever. But since the 1950s and Freudianism, it's like, we must stamp this out, and that's ridiculous. There is no stamping out a fact of life. That's the way it is.
Growing up, I had cousins who used to laugh at me, and they used to call me, faggot and all those other names.
Yeah, sure.
And come to find out,
I could tell you a really awful story. I have a cousin who's the same age as my mother, and when my mother died, I went off to Spain, and he used to take me swimming. And when I was 17 years old, this 40-something-year-old man literally made an in-your-face pass at me, my own cousin. I was so shocked. I'm still shocked. I'm turning red now. I muttered, oh, no. And, I haven't heard from him since. I take it he did not accept rejection well.
Right.
But, yeah. Anyway, we're out of time. I hope you feel better. I know you'll feel better. My guest has been transgender activist and military veteran.
Yes.
Ms. Tanya A. Walker. You see her a lot on this show. You see her a lot everywhere.
Yeah.
She's often in the news.
Google me.
Google
Tanya Azapanza Johnson Walker. Yeah. Google me.
Anyway, and me, But you just know where to find me, Diana Montford. Anyway, I love you a lot. This has been the Diana Montford Show. You have recourse if you go to the hospital and you're trans and they treat you badly. That's what politicians are there for, to help you. Anyway, I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. I love you even if no one else loves you.
I love you too.
Yeah, we both love you.
We love you.
So now you have 2 people loving you, okay? And 3, I hope, because you love yourself. Love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was a good show.
And we did it. We did it.
Yes.
That's why you like me coming, because we do it.
Yes. Well, we're good together.
We do it. We do it.
Okay.
We do it. But you said you got to stay here till 12?
Just stick it in the system and then get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's
and that takes that much time?
Yeah. And so I have to come back on Monday because I probably will only get 1 show on YouTube tonight. And if I want to get the other show on, I have to get it on Monday.
That takes that long to upload?
Yeah.
Wow. To YouTube? Wow.
I don't know why, please.
Yeah, it takes a long time to upload to YouTube.